The Galactic Council Hall floated above a giant orange gas planet, glowing like a burning sun below it. Inside the hall, hundreds of alien species filled their seats, their voices mixing like loud storms. The meeting was important, but the atmosphere felt strange, almost mocking, almost cruel. Because today, everyone was talking about one thing, Earth. Or more clearly, they were laughing about Earth. Earth's chair was empty, a simple silver seat placed near the back, far from the center where powerful species sat. Many delegates pointed at the empty chair with mocking smiles. Some laughed loudly, some whispered jokes, some shook their heads like Earth was nothing. Humans are weak, one delegate said with a sharp voice. They hide on their small blue world and think they matter, another sneered. It is time we remove them from this council, said a third, hitting the table with his long fingers. Their laughter echoed through the hall like a cruel wind. To them, Earth was a joke, a planet too quiet, too slow, too silent. Humans had stopped sending ambassadors years ago. They never joined wars, never asked for help, never showed their strength. To the council, this silence meant weakness. But one person in the hall did not laugh. His name was Lurak, a young alien historian with golden eyes and a calm mind. Lurak always felt something different about Earth. Something hidden, something powerful, something dangerous. And the silence of humans did not feel like fear to him. It felt like preparation. As the council shouted, Lurak opened his tablet and looked at old records. There were strange reports from the past. Stories of human ships disappearing into dark space. Stories of an ancient battle where humans fought like demons and then vanished instantly. Stories that did not fit the weak image the council had of Earth. Lurak whispered to himself, why did they stop speaking to us? But no one listened to him. The council was too busy insulting a species that wasn't even present. At the center platform, the council leader stood tall, his skin shining with blue light. The vote is simple, he announced, Earth has been absent for too long, they offer nothing, they contribute nothing, they fear everything. The crowd murmured in agreement. The leader raised his hand. We should remove them from the council. Before the vote started, the hall suddenly went dark. The lights flickered, the screens blinked, and the giant holographic globe in the center flashed red. Alarms echoed like metal screams. Everyone froze. Even the ones laughing a minute ago suddenly became silent as stone. A robotic voice spoke across the hall. Unidentified signal detected. The screen in front of the council leader lit up with a single line of text, glowing in bright crimson. Humanity response, level Omega. A wave of cold fear passed through the hall. Delegates looked at each other with worried eyes. No one knew what Omega meant. No one had ever seen this classification before. It must be a fake signal, someone shouted, but his voice shook with fear. It is a threat, another whispered. No, Lurak said softly, this is a warning. Council technicians rushed to analyze the signal. They tried to trace the source, but the data confused them. The signal did not come from one location. It came from everywhere. From distant stars, from hidden sectors, from empty regions of space. As if the message had been prepared for years. As if someone waited for this exact moment. The council leader slammed his hand on the control table. Find out what this means, he ordered. But even his strong voice trembled slightly. He could not hide the fear rising inside him. Meanwhile, Lurak continued reading the signal logs. A strange pattern repeated again and again. It was almost like a countdown. Almost like a door opening. Almost like a sleeping giant waking up after centuries. He looked at Earth's empty chair once more. Suddenly the emptiness did not feel weak. It felt powerful. Like a storm waiting behind a quiet sky. At the back of the hall, a group of delegates whispered quickly. What if humans are building something? They have been silent too long. Maybe they are planning something. The idea spread like fire. Fear replaced the earlier laughter. The hall no longer sounded like a marketplace. It felt like a graveyard, cold and uneasy. The giant hologram screen flickered again. A second message appeared right below the first. Stand by for arrival. Gasps echoed everywhere. What arrival? Who is coming? From where? Lurok's heart pounded as he whispered the answer no one wanted to hear. Humanity. The council looked at each other. Their faces pale, their eyes wide. The laughter of earlier was gone forever. Because they all felt it. Something was coming. Something powerful. Something human. And deep in their hearts, they knew one thing. Earth was silent. But Earth was never weak. The council hall remained silent long after the signal faded. Delegates who were mocking Earth only minutes ago now sat frozen in their seats. Fear filled the air like thick smoke. No one spoke, no one moved, no one dared to laugh anymore. Lurok stood at the edge of the room, his golden eyes fixed on the red message still glowing on the big screen. Humanity response, level Omega. He read it again and again, trying to understand. His hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the weight of a truth he had suspected for years. Earth had never been weak. Earth had been preparing. But preparing for what? No one knew, not yet. Outside the council hall, news spread like wildfire. In every corridor, in every chamber, in every shadowed corner of the floating station, whispers about Earth echoed. Did you see the signal? What does Omega mean? Are the humans coming? Some species panicked, packing their belongings and preparing to flee the system. Others demanded immediate military action. But the council had no answer. In a dim research chamber, Lurok connected his tablet to the ancient database. This archive stored restricted history, events erased from public records. He searched for keywords: Earth, humanity, Omega, Soul Sector. Old files appeared, covered in warning labels. Lurok opened the oldest one and began reading. It described a war that happened thousands of years ago. A war most species believed was only a myth. But the archive told a different story. A story about humanity fighting against an unknown enemy. A story where human ships disappeared all at once, leaving no trace behind. A story where the battlefield went silent with no survivors. The report ended with a final sentence. Humanity has left known space, destination unknown. Lurok leaned back, shocked. So they did not die, he whispered. They vanished by choice. He opened another file. This one had a shaky title, The Sleeping Armories of Earth. Inside were reports of strange energy readings from beneath Earth's crust. Massive structures hidden deep underground. Unknown technology beyond current council science. The last line made Lurok's heart pound. These structures are not weapons of war, they are foundations of something larger. Meanwhile, council intelligence teams were scanning space for more signals. Suddenly, another alert appeared on their screens. Not a message, a disappearance. 3 council scout ships sent earlier toward Earth's borders had vanished. No distress calls, no debris, no traces. Just silence. The only thing recorded before their signals went dark was a short, cold message. Do not approach Soul System. This message spread through the council center like a storm. Delegates panicked. Military leaders shouted. Scientists argued. But nothing changed the simple terrifying truth. Someone was defending Earth. And that someone was not the council. Back in the archive room, Lurok continued searching and found a sealed file marked, Do Not Open, Council Eyes Only. He hesitated, then accessed it anyway. He needed answers, not permission. The file opened slowly, showing images of strange triangular ships. They did not match any known species. Dark metal, silent engines, sharp wings like blades. Each ship carried a symbol, a blue circle with a single star in the center. Lurok felt his heart freeze. He saw that symbol before, in one of the oldest Earth artifacts found centuries ago. A symbol of humanity. But these ships were not old. They looked advanced, far more advanced than anything in the Council's fleets. The file explained that these ships had been spotted in deep space in secret. Always silent, always watching. Never interfering, never attacking. As if waiting for a command that never came. Lurok whispered, "How long have they been out there?" He scrolled further and found something worse. A chart showing that the number of sightings increased every century. Then every decade. Then, recently, every year. Meaning, human ships were returning, slowly, carefully, quietly. Not in chaos, but with purpose. With discipline. With a plan. Suddenly, an emergency announcement echoed through the station. All members returned to the main hall at once. Lurok hurried back, pushing through crowds of worried delegates. When he reached the hall, he froze. Council screens now displayed dozens of live feeds from distant star systems. Strange distortions were appearing across space. Rips in the void, glowing blue like lightning. Hyperlanes forming where none existed before. Something was coming through them. Something big. A frightened voice in the room whispered, "What ships can travel like that?" Another answered, "No species has this technology." Lurok spoke softly, but everyone heard him. "Humans do." As the first silhouette of a colossal warship emerged from the blue rift. A silence deeper than fear settled over the hall. Everyone now realized the truth they tried to ignore. Earth had been silent. But humanity had not disappeared. Humanity had grown. Humanity had evolved. Humanity had built something the galaxy had never seen before. And now, they were returning. Not weak. Not broken. But as a hidden power awakened after ages of preparation. The galaxy finally understood the meaning of the Omega signal. It was not a threat. It was a countdown. A warning. A final message before arrival. Humanity was no longer missing. Humanity was no longer silent. Humanity was coming home. The space around the Galactic Council station was usually calm, like a quiet ocean of stars. But tonight, that ocean shook. It trembled with a silent storm that no one expected. A storm that came from places beyond mapped space. A storm that carried the return of a species everyone had mocked. Alarms exploded across the council station like lightning cracking through metal walls. Bright red lights flashed on every corridor, every panel, every ceiling. Delegates ran toward the main observation deck, their voices filled with fear. No one joked about Earth anymore. No one called humans weak now. Lurok pushed through the crowd, his tablet held tightly in his shaking hands. He felt the fear around him like a physical weight pressing on his chest. He reached the deck's giant view window and stopped breathing. Everyone stopped breathing. Space was tearing open. Not like normal warp travel. Not like any species hyperlane technology. This was different. This was controlled, precise, powerful. Blue cracks opened across the darkness like huge glowing scars. And then massive shapes emerged from the rifts. The first ship drifted forward, silent and huge. It was shaped like a crescent blade, its hull black as night. Thousands of blue lights pulsed across its surface, forming patterns like moving constellations. The ship was so big that it blocked half the stars behind it. Every delegate stared with wide eyes. Even the strongest military leaders looked like frightened children. What species owns this? Someone whispered. No one answered. Because deep down, they already knew. Lurok stepped forward, his throat dry. That is a human ship, he said quietly. The entire deck turned toward him in disbelief. But the longer they stared at the massive vessel, the more the truth pressed into their minds. Only one species disappeared for centuries, only one stayed silent, only one sent the Omega message. Humanity. As more rifts opened, more ships emerged. Not one or two. Not a dozen. But hundreds. Then thousands. An entire armada filling the darkness with cold blue light. Titan carriers the size of moons. Spearhead destroyers shaped like sharp arrows. Battle platforms floating like metal islands. Stealth vessels appearing and vanishing like ghosts. A trembling officer shouted, "Count them." The computer tried, but its numbers kept rising faster than it could calculate. Finally, the system gave up and displayed one sentence. Fleet size, beyond measurement. A cold wave spread across the deck. The galaxy had never seen such a fleet. No empire had built something so large. No alliance had combined forces so perfectly. No species had dared to travel with such silent confidence. These ships did not arrive like conquerors. They arrived like a shadow returning to reclaim its place. Without threats, without noise, without words. One delegate whispered, "We mocked them." Another said, "We called them cowards." A third covered his mouth and said, "We joked about their silence." Now the silence felt deadly. Like the calm before a cosmic storm. The council leader entered the deck, his face pale and trembling. He stared at the endless human armada and shook his head. "This is impossible," he whispered. "No species can build this." But Lurok knew the truth. Humans had vanished for thousands of years. They had time. Time to build. Time to expand. Time to evolve. Time to rise beyond the galaxy's imagination. Suddenly, the largest ship in the fleet moved forward. Its front lights glowed bright blue as it approached the station slowly. Every delegate backed away from the window in terror. The ship was so huge that its shadow fell across the entire station. The hull displayed a symbol, a blue circle with a single star. The mark of ancient Earth. But refined, sharper, stronger. A symbol of the Soul Federation. Then, without warning, every human ship powered down their weapons. Their lights dimmed. Their engines quieted. The armada drifted peacefully. Silent, calm, controlled. But no one felt safe. Because power this quiet was more frightening than war. A communication request appeared on every screen. The council leader swallowed hard and accepted it. The screens flickered, revealing only darkness at first. Then a soft blue light appeared, outlining the shape of a human figure. A voice spoke, calm, steady, emotionless. "This is the Soul Federation." Every delegate froze. The voice continued. "You insulted Earth today. You disrespected humanity. You forgot our silence does not mean weakness." The human figure stepped forward slightly, still hidden by shadows. Behind him, holograms of the massive fleet shimmered. "We did not come to conquer," he said. "We came to remind." The council leader stuttered, "Remind us of what?" The human voice became colder. "That Earth watches. That Earth listens. That Earth remembers." A chilling silence filled the deck. Only the hum of the ships in space could be heard. Then the voice ended with a final message. "You laughed at us yesterday. But today, you faced the truth." The transmission ended, leaving the galaxy breathless. The fleet remained in silent formation. Waiting, watching, unbroken, undefeatable. It felt like time itself stopped. The galaxy finally understood the meaning of the Omega signal. This was not war. This was judgment. And the night the human fleet appeared, the galaxy stopped breathing. For a long moment, the council hall was completely silent. The human armada hovered outside like a wall of dark metal mountains. Not moving, not threatening, not firing. Just watching. Just waiting. That quiet pressure felt heavier than any weapon the galaxy had ever known. Delegates whispered among themselves with trembling voices. What do they want? Why now? Will they attack? But no one had answers. Lurok stood near the front of the hall, his eyes fixed on the giant window overlooking the endless fleet. He felt something deep inside his chest. Not fear. But respect. A deep, echoing respect for a species the galaxy had mocked for centuries. Suddenly, the council leaders' panel lit up with a new transmission request. Everyone in the hall froze again. The leader wiped sweat from his forehead and accepted the signal. The screens around the hall brightened with a blue glow. The same human figure from before appeared, though more clearly this time. Still in shadows, still calm, still powerful. Galactic Council, the human began, his voice steady like a controlled storm. This is the Soul Federation. A collective shiver passed through the room. No one had ever heard of the Soul Federation. Yet everyone understood instantly. This was humanity. But not the humanity the galaxy once knew. This was a new form, a united form, a stronger form. The human continued. For centuries, you believed Earth was silent because it was afraid. You believed our absence meant weakness. You believed our retreat meant surrender. He paused, letting the silence stab into every heart in the hall. You were wrong. Several delegates almost collapsed in fear. Others hid behind their seats. Some simply covered their mouths in shock. The human voice continued, colder now. We watched. We waited. We prepared. The council leader gathered what little courage he had left. He stepped forward and said, voice shaking. Human representative, what is the meaning of your arrival? The human figure leaned closer to the camera. The shadows shifted slightly, revealing the faint outline of a stern human face. The voice answered, slow and sharp like a blade slicing through silence. You insulted Earth today. You questioned our honor. You mocked our place in this galaxy. We are here to answer. Gasps filled the hall. Some delegates tried to speak but no words came out. The human raised a hand, signaling silence. You threatened to remove Earth from the council. But you forget something important. We never asked to join. The room fell into stunned disbelief. The human continued. We allowed it because we respected unity. We respected peace. But respect has limits. Then the main hologram brightened, showing a map of the galaxy. Dozens of star systems lit up with blue markers. The human voice explained. These systems belong to the Soul Federation. The council leader nearly collapsed. No one knew humanity had expanded this far. No one knew humans controlled so many regions. No one knew humans had built colonies beyond known borders. It was as if an entire empire had risen in the shadows. The human continued speaking. While you laughed at us, we built. While you dismissed us, we learned. While you mocked us, we grew stronger. Then, the human lifted a small silver device. It projected the council's earlier meeting. Every insult, every joke, every mocking comment about Earth. Played back in the hall. Loud and clear. No one could deny it. The shame burned through the room like fire. The human voice softened, but somehow became more frightening. We are not here to destroy you. We are not conquerors. We did not come to start war. The room exhaled slowly. Some felt relief. But the human spoke again. And we will not tolerate disrespect. That relief turned to ice. The human continued. You will follow a code. Every world must be treated with honor. Every species must be treated with dignity. There will be no more exploitation, no more bullying, no more cruelty to weaker planets. A delegate shouted, "You cannot command the galaxy." The human answered simply, "We already do." Everyone froze. The lights dimmed. The fleet outside the window shifted slightly. Not aggressively. Just enough to remind everyone that the human was not lying. Then the human added a final message. A message that would be carved into the galaxy's memory forever. "We are Earth. We are humanity. We were silent. But we never disappeared. Remember this day." With that, the screen shut off. The holograms vanished. And the entire hall sat frozen like statues. No one dared speak. No one dared move. Everyone knew the truth now. The galaxy had changed forever. And the silence of Earth had finally broken. The council hall remained frozen long after the human transmission ended. The delegates sat in silence, their faces pale, their bodies stiff, their minds shaking with fear and disbelief. Outside the massive window, the human armada hovered like a dark storm ready to strike. But they did not fire. They did not threaten. They did not move. They simply waited. Their quiet presence was more powerful than any weapon. Lurok slowly stepped toward the center of the hall, the echo of his footsteps sounding louder than the alarms did earlier. He could feel the weight of history on his shoulders. The galaxy had insulted Earth. And now humanity had returned to teach a lesson that would never be forgotten. The council leader finally stood, though his legs trembled under him. He turned to the delegates and said with a voice barely strong enough to rise above a whisper. "We must respond." But half the delegates could not even speak. Some stared at the ground in shame. Others looked at the fleet outside with terrified eyes. A few covered their faces, embarrassed by their own mocking words from earlier. The council leader opened a public broadcast channel. He swallowed hard and activated the link. "We request to speak with the Sol Federation," he announced weakly. A moment later, the blue screen flickered back to life. The human figure reappeared, calm and unreadable. Behind him, the silent armada continued to float through the darkness like a giant wall. The leader bowed his head in respect. It was the first time in history that a council leader had bowed to any species. "We accept your terms," he said quietly. "We will follow your code of honor." The human nodded once. But the transmission did not end. "Understand this," the human said. "This is not about revenge. This is not about domination. This is about balance. This is about respect." He raised a hand, and a hologram filled the room with glowing blue light. It displayed smaller symbols representing various weaker worlds in the galaxy. Planets that had suffered under the rule of stronger empires. Species that had been pushed aside, exploited, ignored, or enslaved. "These worlds," the human said, "will now be under our protection. No species will harm them again." Shock rippled through the hall like a wave. Some delegates protested weakly. "But you cannot decide this alone." The human answered without raising his voice. "We did not decide. We enforced." Those simple words carried the full weight of humanity's power. The galaxy began to understand that Earth had not returned as a victim. Humanity had returned as a guardian. A protector. A force that demanded fairness when no one else would. Lurok felt something warm inside his chest. He stepped forward and bowed to the human hologram. "Why did you wait so long to show yourselves?" he asked softly. He spoke not with fear, but with curiosity and respect. For the first time, the human turned fully toward him. The shadows shifted just enough to reveal clear human features. Sharp eyes, calm expression, and a presence that radiated confidence. "We waited," the human said. "Because the galaxy was not ready. We waited because power without wisdom becomes tyranny. We waited because strength without discipline becomes destruction. And we waited because humanity needed to grow before we could lead." Lurok nodded slowly. The answer made sense. Humanity did not rise out of pride. Humanity rose because someone needed to set things right. The human continued. You thought our silence was weakness. But it was patience. You thought our retreat was fear. But it was strategy. You thought Earth was alone. But we became many. The hologram zoomed out again, revealing the human-controlled sectors. The map glowed with dozens of blue lights across the galaxy. Earth was no longer a single world. Earth was the heart of a vast federation. Finally, the human lowered his hand. You will follow the Treaty of Soul, he said. To protect the weak. To honor the innocent. To respect every world. The council leaders bowed again. We agree, they said. We will follow. The transmission faded. And the human armada slowly began to turn. Their massive ships rotated in perfect harmony like a fleet of silent giants preparing to leave. For the first time since their arrival, their engines glowed softly. One by one, the ships disappeared into blue rifts of light. Within minutes, the largest armada the galaxy had ever seen was gone. Leaving only darkness, stars, and a single beacon floating outside the council station. The beacon flashed a final message in bright blue letters. Earth is silent. But never weak. Remember the Soul Federation. And then the beacon drifted quietly into space. The galaxy watched it fade. Every species knew that a new era had begun. An era shaped not by the strongest empire, but by the silent power of humanity. A new galactic order had been born. And the galaxy would never forget the day Earth returned.